show as we wrap up the regular season. We start with 6th-ranked Kansas State against 18th-ranked Texas. Wildcats can control their BCS destiny. Colin Klein on senior day. A lot of emotions running rampant in Manhattan. Case McCoy dropping back. Picked off by Nigel Malone. He is going the other way. Big-time pick 6 to start off the scoring. But wait, check out the replay. It looks like Malone dropped the ball in the end zone. Texas ball, right? Well, let's hear from the referee about the ruling.
After review, the runner intercepted the ball and was running towards the goal line. Before he broke the plane of the goal line, he let the ball go. We gave a signal of touchdown on the field, which by rule is an inadvertent signal. By rule, we must put the ball back at the half-yard line. Kansas State will have the ball at the half-yard line, 1st and goal.
So does Mack Brown have a reason to be angry, Gary?
I think Mack was mad about that, obviously. He had a chance. I thought this was actually going to be a turnover back to Texas and get the ball at the 20 as a touchback, the way I first saw that. But hearing the rule and seeing how that unfolded, I think the officials actually got it right.
And then after that, Colin Klein will take it in by himself. It's a 1-yard touchdown plunge. This is basically just a formality. Kansas State's up 7-0 after 1. Now in the second against Mack Brown and company. Wildcats driving. Klein back to pass. He'll fire into the end zone to Adrian Phillips. And that would be a touchback for the Longhorns. A costly mistake for Klein. Only his 2nd interception all year. How about that? Because of that, on the next play, Texas would capitalize. It's Johnson, the tip pass. He turns the corner. Big play for Texas, Coach.
Yeah, Texas has still got some home run ability with the speed they got in skill players.
70 yards on that. Mack likes it. It's 7-3, Kansas State leading it. And then later in the opening half, McCoy dropping back, firing to Jackson Shipley, 14-yard strike. Texas outplaying Kansas State early on. They're up 3 at the break. Opening drive of the 3rd. Things start to simmer down on the K-State side. John Hubert takes the pitch, follows the blocker. It's a 2-yard score, 7-play, 75-yard drive, 14-10 Wildcats. But the Longhorns would respond on the ensuing drive. Malcolm Brown, he bounces in from 2 yards out. Texas regains the edge, 17-14. But once again, the Wildcats would scratch back. Hubert takes the handoff, a 2-yard scamper, his 2nd of the day. And it's a game of tic-tac-toe. Kansas State, they got the lead now, 21-17, and now they start having some fun. Klein off the play action, like only he can, to Tyler Lockett. And this would open things up, Gare.
It was a good speed route there by Tyler Lockett. Got away from the safety who actually came down. Only one safety in the middle of the defense, and Klein read it beautifully.
That made it 28-17. Kansas State forces a punt. Quandre Diggs back to battle it, and you know what? He can't handle it. Kansas State will jump all over it at the 40-yard line. And it's a crushing turnover for Texas, and they had many in the second half. John Hubert will take it in from 1 yard out, and to go up 3 scores at that point, Bill Snyder gets the Gatorade bath, sort of. They were kind of kind about it, worried about the old guy. Kansas State captures their 3rd conference title in school history, beating Texas for a 5th straight time. Wow. Kansas State wraps up the Big 12 title and a bid to the Fiesta Bowl to probably play Oregon. 5 in a row over Texas, 7 wins in the last 9 matchups. Let's get some reaction from the Little Apple.
How do you describe Colin Klein tonight? He really took a lot on his shoulders in the second half.
He always does. Yeah, he does a lot more than people really see. He's a special guy.
This is a special group, 27 seniors. How critical is it for them to end their career with a championship, Coach?
Well, their career's not over. They've got another game left to play, but it's a nice win.
Colin, this seemed like a very inspired group that came out of the locker room at halftime. How and when did you take control of this football game?
Well, again, it was a battle. I mean, give Texas all the credit. I mean, they're a great football team, had a good plan coming in. And, again, just so proud of our guys for hanging tough. And when we weren't able to get things going, especially offensively early, to just hang in there and stay the course. And things started clicking a little bit. And, again, I just thank God so much for this opportunity to be on this team. And it's an honor.
So So let's take a look at the last 5 Big 12 champions. OU is always in the conversation. They're co-champs this year. But, of course, Kansas State winning. They get the title, the outright title. What does this say for Kansas State, though, in Bill Snyder Act 2? Pretty impressive to be there as the conference champion.
I think it's an impressive statement, obviously, for his football team, for Bill Snyder himself personally. And really, he's had a great football team and the way he's developed this team. And they play as a team. That's the most interesting thing about K-State football is that they play so much as a team. And there's no I in that in the spelling of the word team. And they exemplify that. And Colin Klein is the leader of that football team. And he had a great night tonight.
Well, and Bill Snyder, gosh, this is the second time around. Now, they won it before he comes back, revives the program. You know, you just can't do any better than they've done, really. They got as high as 1 in the country. You're on the cover of Sports Illustrated. You got Colin Klein. You got a legitimate Heisman Trophy candidate. So congratulations to Coach Snyder and his people.
Now, on the Texas side of things here, they were in this game until the turnovers really got it out of reach.
Well, it actually started out early. You know, you have one turnover at the start of the ball game where it should be an easy touchdown for Kansas State because they get this turnover here, should take it into the end zone. But we went through this already. We did drop it, but ultimately they did get the touchdown off of that interception. And then the other turnovers that happened. You had a few fumbles for Texas in this ball game, and they turned the ball over to Kansas State. You know, some miscues, some things that just didn't go right. This muff situation here really gave Kansas State an opportunity to put more points on the board. And it really kind of snowballed, I think, in the second half. Kansas State was able to run the football very well. In addition to these turnovers, and, you know, Matt Brown knows this, when you go on the road, if you don't take care of the football, you're probably not going to win the ball game.
Yeah, Kansas State had 2 weeks to prepare for this one, Coach. And, you know, it really looked like the Wildcat team that we saw that started off the year at 10-0. They were able to pass late in this game. How did they do that?
Well, the running game opened the thing up. You know, the third quarter, Kansas State, Hubert, Klein, and their people came out and really made their mind up. It looked like to run the ball, and they got it going. This was early in the second half. You know, Hubert gets loose here. This is what they've done all season long. You know, they run the ball. They got the option game. This was a great little play action off the quarterback lead. They hit it. They usually run on the goal line, ran it upfield here. Now here Klein keeps the ball on the quarterback lead. These sorts of things here just tend to open up the play for this sort of stuff here when they start throwing the ball down the field. But as we've seen Kansas State all season long, with one exception, they just grind on you. You know, you don't, some things that didn't look real flashy early on, but now here it goes, like Gary says, now you hit Lockett on the deep ball, the dam breaks on Texas, and here you go.
All right, guys, let's take a break. Still ahead, a great one in Fort Worth as TCU and OU go. All right, it's time to hand out the awards. I know you guys like to give out trophies with your pictures on it. Well, we're going to start with the Offensive Player of the Year. Who do you have, Gare?
God, there's a lot of guys in the conference that I think can really be justified for this, but I'm going to have to tell you on my Offensive Player of the Year, I think I'm going to have to go with Terrence Williams from Baylor.
Wow.
Terrence Williams as a wide receiver just put up some numbers this year that were off the charts. You know, what he was able to do to connect with Nick Florence, made big play after big play. You know, averaging over 20 yards per reception for the season is tremendous. And, you know, he's just one of those big-time players that he is the most elite receiver in the Big 12 Conference right now. And so I think that he's an easy selection for me for that honor, but there's a lot of other great candidates out there.
Is he an NFL guy?
Oh, definitely. He's a first-day NFL guy, you know, first-round NFL guy.
Wow, and he knows he's got 2 Super Bowl championships. Well, Coach, who's your Offensive Player of the Year?
Well, I'm going to go with our man Colin Klein. I think he's still very much in this Heisman Trophy race. I don't know what I'd bet just a whole lot of money on it, but him winning, but I think he'll be in New York, and deservedly so. You know, had the poor outing against Baylor. Other than that, this guy was the ringleader, along with his coach, in a conference championship, 12-1. You know, got all the accolades that one can get, save winning the Heisman Trophy in a league that is really, really top-heavy with outstanding quarterbacks. Landry Jones, Florence, Geno Smith, all these guys. I think this one is the guy. I think he's my Offensive Player of the Year.
Well, Coach, you always talk about you got to stop somebody in this league. Who's your Defensive Player of the Year?
Well, now that's Gary and I were talking about this. You got to really put your thinking cap on. I don't want to be too harsh on these defensive units in this league, but there's some things lacking. You know, I would say Arthur Brown, the other Kansas State kid. You know, particularly for the last couple of years, and I know this is for this year, but we've seen Brown probably make as many big plays, tip balls, interceptions, even going back. You remember, Gary, last year when Robert Griffin, he hit Griffin, the ball went up in there when they had that big win. Brown, to me, has been probably as consistent a big play defender as we've had in this league. He can run. He tends to show up around the ball all the time. Will have a chance to play at the next level, is a legitimate big play guy.
You know, Coach, and I think that he is the guy that I'm going to pick for the Defensive Player of the Year also, simply because, you know, you talk about Kansas State and all the success that they've had this year. Well, their defense played lights out as well. So they didn't win that conference championship solely with Colin Klein on offense. That defense turned up large, and Arthur Brown was the heart and soul of that defense, and he was the guy that got to, you know, got a lot of the accolade, but justly so, because he's in the middle of the action. He's one of those linebackers that's always around the football, and he's a guy you can count on. He was very reliable. And again, you know, my defensive pick of the year.
This is a first on Big 12 Live. You guys actually agree on something. I'm just saying that. All right. We got more trophies to hand out. Special teams, newcomer, coach of the year. I start with you, Gary.
Well, as far as coach, where do you want to go here? We're going to go with special teams. Well, obviously, I have a couple of guys that I really like. Tavon Austin, what he's able to do in kick returns, that young man is explosive. And Tyler Lockett made plays also. You got to hand it to him. He had some explosive touchdown plays for Kansas State. Newcomer of the year, I like the young man from TCU. Defensive end, really is going to be a big-time player in this league. Led the conference in sacks going into it. And coach of the year, I think with what Bob Stoops has done, navigating with his team to bring them into, they only lost to just only the #1 team in the country in Kansas State, the #1 team in the country at the time, you know, who currently now is in Notre Dame. Pretty tough company that they had, that they lost their ball games to in the one conference loss. So I applaud Bob Stoops and how he navigated with his ball club.
And he did that too with that offensive line early on in the year, very suspect. How about you, Pat? Who are your award winners?
Well, I'm going to go, you know, I'm going to change up just a little bit. Now, Bill Snyder, I'm still going Bill Snyder, coach of the year. Doggone, I mean, yeah, you could make a case for Art Briles. You could make a case for Bob Stoops. I'm still staying with our man, Bill Snyder. Special teams, you know, I think Tavon Austin is a guy. Quinn Sharp, the Oklahoma State kid, you could certainly mention. At either one of them, Austin is probably as explosive a player as we've got in college football. Newcomer of the year, Lace Seastrunk, the kid from Baylor. Down the stretch, the last month of the year, he might have been the best back in this league. Probably did as much for Baylor's great final month as anybody they have.
Let's take a break. Coming up next on Big 12 Live.